Welcome back to the channel, man. We're picking back up on khaki, of course. This is probably going to be a quick video. There's one thing that I'd really like to establish and complete before painting, just so I don't have to worry about scratching and things like that. The windshield wiper cowl. I've always had this factory one on here, but I do not have windshield wipers. So this thing has always been just open like this with the holes and all that. So I'd like to make a piece that is going to replace this, basically. I'm going to try to make a piece. So looking at this, especially the factory one, get a look at how this thing is shaped. This section here is kind of flat, where this section here kind of ramps up. But then if you look at it from this way, it's like straight, and then it curves down here and curves down here. So there's a lot of shape going on here that I don't know if I'm going to be able to replicate with a sheet of aluminum. First thing I'm going to do is get this entire area wiped down, try to get all the dust off of it, because we're going to make a template, and I'm going to make a template out of tape. So I need my tape to stick on here. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and remove these. I don't know what this is. I think this was something for the windshield to sit on. I'm going to get that out of my way. And some of these are missing. 1, 2, 3 of them. Oh, 4 of them. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and completely remove these because we're not going to use those anymore. I'm going to have to figure out a different point, a different way of attaching this. So, yeah, there you go. They're all kind of brittle and broken anyhow. Go away, my friend. Go away. Hiya! Thank you. Come again. These are probably like most 90s Honda's clips. Very hard to find. Discontinued. Don't make them anymore. And here I am just cracking them out of there. Come on, mother trucker. Well, that went inside. It'll probably be in there forever. Yay! Alright, that's all those. Template time! I'm just going to be making this out of tape. Basically laying the tape where it is I want my aluminum piece to be. I got my tape all laid out here, and I got my outline outlined. So this is basically just so I know where this thing is sitting. I outlined the bottom of the windshield, and then I sat the factory one up here and lined it how much it comes up onto the windshield, just for reference so I know. And then all the way to the pinch frame, the little pinch weld on this side, and then straight along the firewall and to the pinch weld on this side. I did like a little dotted line right here, representing where it would be if this pinch weld went straight, or if I wanted to come straight off the edge of the windshield. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do in this area yet. I do know I want it to come all the way over here, because there's kind of an ugly portion right there that will be shown if you don't cover it. But we also have the hood hinges right here that I'm gonna have to account for and make sure that there's enough room for, because if you look at how the factory one is shaped, like, it comes all the way over here, but it has a large area cut out. So I'm gonna have to figure that out after we get this piece cut out, and then set it up here, like test mock it, you know. But for the most part, that is my rough line. So I need to get this tape removed from here, and then we'll apply this to our piece of aluminum, and then I have a cut line. Basically I'm going to extend past this a little bit, because I'm going to try not to follow this shape if I don't have, I don't know exactly, but I want to extend past it a little bit to give me the option if I want this just to be a straight line, or if I do want to follow the shape of the firewall. I'm not sure on that yet, but we'll figure it out as we go. the shape for the most part cut out. I kind of put a little bit of a bend in the metal just by bending it by hand, you know. Then I clamped the factory one up here and just got a mark of the shape of the sides right here, minus the area that opens up for the windshield wiper, because I don't need that. I did cut it oversized, so it is going to have to come in a little bit, but I want to be able to like fine tune it, you know, as I get it fitted up here to make sure I don't take too much material off, because yeah, it's easy to take material away, but it's a lot harder to put it back. Anyhow, now I'm going to try to get this thing somewhat centered. I got to figure out where this thing is centered at, and then I want to drill a hole in it for that bolt right there, the center one, and then drill another one, and then drill another one, and go back and forth and get this thing to where it's bolted down. And then I need to decide how much I want to cut off the front of it, because I did leave that a little oversized as well. And then I need to go and get my hinges and see how much room I'm going to need on the sides right here for the hinges to be able to fully function, you know. I don't know what size bolt, what size thread this is, but it's not a number 10. I was trying to use 10s just to mock this up and drill my holes and everything, but it's not fitting in there. And some of these things are just loose and spinning. So to use the hardware that I had in there, I can't even do that because it's spinning. And these things are a little bit short because I need to kind of form that piece of aluminum. So there is a bit of a gap behind it. So I need to be able to tighten these things down, try to get these rib nuts out of here and put new rib nuts in there. I have rib nuts in there that are actually 410, so let's see if I could simply just hammer. Oh. Okay, buddy, you weren't supposed to do that. All right, let me get these out of here and I'll get back to you. All right, I got these rib nuts out of here, and the rib nuts that I have still fit inside of the same hole, except for these. Well, this one and the one on the other far side. They're a little like concaved in. They're bent in from me removing the old ones. So all these other holes, they fit really tight. These ones are loose, and I'm afraid that they're gonna end up spinning. So I gotta try to straighten this metal out, and I've tried with a hammer. The hammer just doesn't fit in there very well, like all the way deep down in there. So I'm gonna attempt this. I don't know if this is gonna work or not, but for starters I need to cut a flat spot on one of these washers really quick, if I can, with these things. Oh, very nice. So that is gonna sit up against inside of here because there's not enough room for the washer unless I cut it like that. So just like that, and then I'm gonna stack a couple of washers out here, put a nut on it, and just tighten that up, kind of maybe bend it back and forth, hopefully get the metal on there straight. It's not perfect, but boy, that really pulled that out. Oh yeah, look at that. I can't even, look how tight that is now. Bro! That is sick, dude. Alright, I'm gonna give it one more shot, see if I can't straighten it out just a little bit more. What I'm thinking is maybe this washer, oh yeah, the washer is bent. So these washers are really thin. They don't have a whole lot of strength to them, so I gotta double up the backside. So I'm gonna cut one more flat. See if having doubled up washers on that backside is gonna help a little bit to pull that metal. Bang, bang, baby. Hell yes. Hell yes. So if you guys don't have a lot of experience with these rib nuts, you want the hole to be nice and tight, dude. Like, it doesn't have to be this tight. This is actually kind of a little bit too tight, but I would rather it be that than too loose, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I would say pause, but it seems some people in the comments get really excited whenever I say pause. Some people get really offended whenever I say pause. They're like, I'm gonna stop watching your videos altogether if you say pause again. Don't start with that shit. And it has me like, bro, I say pause kind of sarcastically because I don't fully understand what the point of it is. Like, I say it kind of jokingly. You know, that's why I'm always like, pause? That's what she said? I don't know. Right, so this side over here on the passenger side is even worse. So I put one of these rib nuts in there and it's just super freaking loose, and I'm worried, like I said, that that's not going to grip whenever I tighten that down, and we're going to have a problem with it just spinning. So I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. I'm trying to give you guys a closer look at it so you can see how well this is actually working. This was just experimental for me. I wasn't sure if this was going to work or not, but I'm pretty excited that it is because I didn't know how I was going to get that straightened out. And I don't know if you guys can notice, but it's a damn good thing that I'm doing this before paint. Okay, that got wedged in there. Freaking probably bent it again. Anyhow, it's a good thing that I'm doing this before paint, because I don't know if you guys see how much the paint is cracking. Oh, dude, that made a huge difference. God, give it back. Look, the bolt hardly wants to come out of there now. Oh, heck yes, buddy. That made a big difference. Look at that. Now this thing won't even fit in there. See? That's what's up, man. So there you go. You guys need to straighten a hole out. I did the experimenting for you. Just beware. It'll probably crack your paint. Alright, so I got this bottom section figured out. We got all those holes cleared of the old rib nuts that was in it, and we got the holes straightened out that were all kind of bent and stuff. Now, for the top section right here, close to the windshield, that's where those factory clips used to be. I removed the ones that were left because I'm going to actually be closing these up, and that's what it was that I was just working on. So this is a piece of, I think this is like an 1/8 of an inch steel, just a piece of flat bar. I have all the holes already drilled while this thing is one piece, because I figured it'd be a lot easier to drill these before cutting this into individual squares. But I got all the holes drilled for our rib nuts. Now I have it marked exactly where it is I need to cut each one of these. We're going to cut them all out, and that's going to make 7 of these squares with the hole in it for our rib nut. And that is just going to basically sit over that rectangle, and I'm just going to do a little tack weld on each side. That's all it really needs, you know what I mean? So the reason why I really want, obviously I want this to be able to bolt on and be nice and solid. There's 7 holes on the top, 7 holes on the bottom. That's a little bit excessive for such a thin little piece of aluminum, but you know, it is what it is. That's where the factory one bolted up, so I'm going to utilize all those. Not to mention that whenever you set this on here, since it is a flat piece, it actually needs to contour, in which I was worried about in the beginning whether I was going to be able to get it to contour to that shape, because you know, it kind of goes up and then down, and then there's a lot of different angles that it goes into, but that does flex on there pretty well. But the issue that I'm running into, because I started drilling these holes and I had a couple of bolts in it, but if I just lay this flat down this way and mark where these holes are at, that would change if I push down up here. So for the most part, I need to bolt down in the center on the bottom, and then I need to flex it over and bolt it up here on the top, and then see where my holes are at down here, drill them, and make sure my bolts are going to line up, and then bolt this section. So for the most part, it bolts here, and then it flexes over here, and whenever that flexes, it changes where that aluminum sits in relation to where these holes are at. So right now I have nothing up here that I'm capable of just temporarily bending it over and attaching it, so I can figure out exactly where these holes are at. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these all welded on. I need to go and cut them out first. We need to strip the paint and everything from these areas, get it ready for weld. Using one of these little abrasive pads because it's good at taking paint away without taking material away. It's not gonna grind away my metal. Alright, now with our mounting points actually there, I can continue with shaping this piece of aluminum. So the idea Well, what I'm going to try first, because I got to figure out exactly where these holes are at underneath the damn thing. So what I'm going to try first is we have these 3 holes right here drilled. I'm going to bolt that piece up here. And then what I'm going to do is just screw some bolts in to these far mounting points. So, and just leave them up a little bit and try to use my paint marker and just put a bunch of, a little pile of paint on the top right there, you know? On both sides. I have a little ball of tape sitting on top of the bolt with a dab of paint from my marker. Just push that down, and I can see it in there. I'm sure the camera probably can't see it, but I could definitely see that I left a little mark right there. Do the same on the other side. Make the little tape ball. You just want to ball up a little piece of tape, but make sure the adhesive is on the outside so that it's sticky, you know. Then you can get it in position in there on that bolt and get it to stick to it. Now get the marker good and wet so you barely have to touch it. Nice. Very nice. Alright, I got all the holes drilled and they're all mounted in there. Some of these, especially over here, I'm going to need a little bit of a longer bolt, but I'm not going to be using these bolts anyhow. I'm going to have to run down to a hardware store and find some better looking, probably Allen wrench head bolts, who knows. Anyhow, I want to say that I'm definitely glad that I did this before paint, because this has gone a little crazy. It'd have been a lot more difficult trying to do this and worry about having to try not to scratch things, you know what I'm saying? Anyhow, and I will say I have made some mistakes on a couple of these holes, so it's really difficult to get them marked. So as you can see, I was off on that one, had to drill it up, and I think this one as well. All the rest of them I got them pretty well, pretty good. I've had to oversize some holes, but that shouldn't be a problem because I'm gonna put a washer on there, you know. So whatever bolts I do end up getting, it's gonna have a washer. I'd really like to get like some beauty hardware, like from MPC or something. But anyhow, now to move forward. Oh, by the way, I plan on fixing this since we're able to weld aluminum now. I'm gonna try to kind of close that up with the welder and then grind it smooth and stuff. I'll be able to fix it. But now what I need to do is actually get my hinges bolted in here, and I need to see how much of this I need to take away for the hinge to be able to like fully function. Right now, because I marked it off of the factory one, but I did kind of overcut, leaving a little bit of extra, and I know this is sticking out too far. I have it all taped off so you can't really see it, but I could feel the edge of the windshield, and it is lining up with where my template is at. I did mark the edge of the windshield here, so I'm probably going to end up just bringing this all the way back to the edge of the windshield, I would assume. But yeah, like I said, I undercut all of this, so I had extra material, so I can just kind of trim it back and leave as much as possible. So with this on there and the hinges, I can kind of get this hinge to go past. Definitely needs to be trimmed, but I can get this hinge to get up past it in this area, and then I can see that it's going to get crowded right there for sure. So this is going to need to come back. This is going to need to come back. This side over here, I can't even get the hinge to come up, so that's definitely going to have to come back. Yeah, so just as I assumed, I'm going to need to trim this back a little bit. Try to get a rough idea where it needs to be. I don't have my straight edge out here right now, so I'm using the vacuum. Something probably like that. Alright, so that is ready to get welded back on there. I got the weld through primer on the back side of this and on the frame rail here. So, but before I do that, I want to get this ready as well. I picked up a 2-inch diameter exhaust piping, because that is a 2-inch hole that we cut inside of the firewall. This is for the shift cables. So I need to cut the end off of this and get it to slide in there. It might not fit. I might have to cut like a slit in it or something to get it to actually fit in there, but I want to get it all the way through, and then I'm going to mark it on the back and on the front, on the inside of the engine bay and on the inside of the car, because it's not going to be just a straight cut. It's going to be probably at an angle, you know. But I got to get that cut out, and I want to get that tacked welded in here. I think instead of just cutting it flush and trying to weld it, I'm going to have it stick out some and then tack weld it all the way around. Shoot, that actually fits in there really good. I thought it was going to be a little bit too big still, but that's perfect. So, alright, I do want it to stick in here a little bit, not that damn much, so probably at least like that much. So then coming back out here, I still want it to stick out at least 1/4 of an inch, so I'm just going to go ahead and slide it back around 1/4 of an inch, and then now mark that all the way around where it is touching the firewall. Yeah, something like that. Alright, we are getting a lot closer to being able to paint this engine bay. So got the windshield wiper cowl finished. I got the K-series mount welded on there. And I got that tube welded on there. Now, I just wanted to let you guys know, I'm not going to be doing this in this video, but I did pick up some seam sealer. I am going to go around that with some seam sealer. And I'm going to go ahead and cover this seam right here once again. I've already stitch welded it. I'm going to go ahead and cover it with some seam sealer again. And there's some areas that I don't want to just spray. Like down here where we did the stitch welding. You see how that's like open? I don't want it to look like that after I paint it. So my idea is I'm going to put seam sealer down inside of there. Just kind of smoothing it out, you know, before I hit it with the high build primer and just kind of primer over it. Anyhow, one last thing that I want to do before ending this video is we made the cowl cover, but I had mentioned that whenever I wash the car or it rained, like water goes down inside of the car, and I don't want it to do that no more, especially since my ECU is mounted right there. Anyhow, I don't think that this is going to be enough to keep the water out. I do plan on putting like some weather stripping in behind this right here at the windshield and right here, but it's still not going to be 100% sealed, you know. So I figured if I at least make an aluminum panel to just cover over the top of this opening, and on this side it's just this small opening right here, and those are the only openings that's actually going into the car. So if I just seal those off, then we would definitely be golden. All right, it's kind of hard to get in here to try to make a template. So what I'm going to try to do, I don't know if this is going to work or not, is just use some aluminum foil. Try to get it in there over the top of that hole that we're trying to make a plate of aluminum for, and then just kind of take my hand and rub the edge. That's the idea. Okay. I think I wasn't completely covering it, but hopefully it's good. Yeah, I missed a little edge right there, but I think that's enough to figure it out. Alright, so I cut those things out of the aluminum, and all I'm going to do is basically hold it on there, trace around it with a marker. Alright, so this one over here on the passenger side, if you guys can see inside of there, this hole actually has a lip that's on the inside. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see that or not. You can kind of see that. You probably can't tell exactly what it is, but there's a lip in there. So I cut this one out to basically be a little bit undersized so that it will fit inside of there and just sit on that lip. Just like that. You see? Very nice. And it actually came out freaking first try, and it's really hard to get out. Okay, I gotta go push it back up from the inside. Oh yeah, look, there it is. Yeah, if you look inside, dude, that completely closes that off. That just makes so much sense. You know what I mean? This whole time, that has been a wide open hole right here. So, go ahead and push that back out of there. Yeah, look at that. This whole time, that's been a wide open hole. I really don't know why it is I haven't already done this, but... So the idea is what I'm going to do now is try to get this thing out of here. Oh my God. Okay. Alright, so the idea is what I'm going to do is just put a bead of seam sealer. Like a big old bead of seam sealer all the way around this edge. And then I'm going to stick it in there and just squish it down onto the seam sealer. I have an old tube of seam sealer here that I'm really hoping isn't completely dried up. Oh, something's coming. Oh, very nice. I don't want to open my new one yet because I don't want to risk it hardening up before I get all the other stuff ready that I need to use it on. Alright, now just to get this in there without making a mess. Success. I only got one little spot on my palm. Oh, see how that came out on the inside? Oh, very nice, my friend. Look at that. You see, once that seam sealer dries, bro, that thing is there. Okay, that thing is freaking there. So this one's gonna be a little bit different. There's no lip or any. Oh, actually, there what? Oh, what? Oh no, there's no lip. There's a little lip on this side, but not the rest of it. Anyhow, this one's gonna be a little bit different. This is actually just going to sit right on top. But luckily, there are a couple of holes right here. There's a hole there and a hole there that I'm able to utilize to put some screws into. So what I'm gonna do is take my paint marker and I'm gonna leave a wet like a wet right on the lip right here. I'm gonna get wet with paint, and then I'm just gonna try to gently set this up there and then press on it, hopefully transfer the paint onto this, and then that will be the shape of what we're covering. And then I'm just gonna put some of that seam sealer right on top of that paint and just follow it around, and then set it back on there to kind of sandwich some seam sealer between it, and then just put the screws in, dude. That's all I can really do, you know? That kind of didn't really work, so I'm just going to try to put the seam sealer directly on this lip. Alright, I successfully got seam sealer all the way around, sitting on top of that lip. So now, sandwich that guy on there and put the screws on. Alright, since the seam sealer is just barely sitting on that little lip right there, I was actually able to get my hand back inside of here. And you're not going to be able to see it, but it's right there. Yeah, you can't see shit. I was able to get my finger in there and actually... Pause! No homo or fucking... That's what she said. I was able to smear it in there, like as if, you know, like you do with caulking, like whenever you're painting the inside of your house or something. I was able to smear it into the corner and get it spread on there really well. I should probably do that to the other side. But anyhow, now it's time to go ahead and throw this cowl back on. Well, there it is, guys. We got the custom windshield cowl made. I got those holes in there sealed off, which is huge. That's a big deal, bro, because that's one problem that I've always had with khaki. I should have done it a long time ago. We got the K-series mount welded on there finally for the final time. We got our tunnel made right here for our shift linkage. We got a lot of the firewall all closed up. That wasn't this video, was it? I don't know. I've done so much to this damn thing already. Still definitely have a lot of work left to do. Up next, I think I need to start on body work. Well, there's still going to be a little bit of filler and stuff I got to do in some little areas just to get it cleaned up. Nothing like before. Then we got to start priming this thing, get it ready for paint. But there is one more thing that I need to figure out before. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do about this yet, but before we spray, up here in the front, if you guys want to give me any recommendations. So as you guys know, the traction bar bolts right here where the factory like tow hooks used to bolt. The nuts, those factory nuts on the inside, those have all broken off. This is a pretty common problem with EFs. I know I'm not the only one to ever have this issue, but a way around it is you have to drill a hole in the bottom, in which I've already done that. You see that hole drilled in the bottom on both sides so that you're able to fit a nut back inside of there. And then basically what you're doing is through bolting it. I've always had a problem with those coming loose. That's another big issue that I've always had with khaki is because there's 3 bolts here and 3 bolts here, but then there's also a bolt that goes underneath here if you're familiar with the traction bar on these EFs. Anyhow, those always come loose, dude, and I notice it. It makes a big difference in the car whenever those come loose. It will actually lose traction. It allows the wheel to kind of pull back ever so slightly enough to throw the toe off to the point to where it'll lose traction. I was always having to check those. So I'm trying to decide whether I should try to kind of weld a plate inside of here in order to bolt that stuff up to make it a little bit more rigid. But the problem with that is it's going to be hard to get a plate on the backside through that hole and to weld it properly. And if I put a plate on this side, then the mounting point with my traction bar would be off. I'd have to cut those off and move it in. So what I'm kind of thinking about doing is bolting the traction bar itself on here, and then while I have it all, you know, before I paint it, strip this down to metal and just flat out weld the traction bar directly to the car. Like still put bolts in there, maybe bolt it with some lock washers, and then even put a tack on each one of the bolts, and then actually weld the bracket directly to the frame rail so I don't ever have to worry about that thing coming loose. Throw it in the comments down below what it is you guys think, maybe some pros and cons. I can't think of a single thing that I absolutely have to take the traction bar out in order to do, you know. So to me, I may as well just weld it in there. For what reason will I ever need to take the traction bar out? And when I do so, I can maybe figure out a way for mounting a weight plate on the front of this, because that's another thing khaki has always needed, is a weight plate. But anyhow, guys, I really hope you guys are enjoying the content, enjoying the progress. I know it seems like it's moving kind of slow, believe me. Each one of these videos that I put up has a whole lot of hours packed into it, but I'm condensing it down to, you know, like 20 minutes or whatever it is. Believe me, this is a lot of work. I'm trying to take my time and do it right this time. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. Peace, and we'll see you on the next one.